All right. And we're going.
We're here. Welcome back.
Welcome to Risky Business News
I'm
podcast.
I'm May Planert. This is Laura Sogar.
I'm Laura Sogar. This is May Planner. And we have some news.
We do have some news. Thank you for coming back. I don't know why you're here. I wouldn't be if I were you, so we really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're probably home. This actually, honestly, maybe I would be, because what the fuck else are you doing right now?
Literally nothing. I mean, don't pretend like you're doing anything.
No.
We're not doing anything. That's for damn sure. So
That's true. I haven't left my apartment. No, I left my apartment. I went 2 blocks away.
Oh, really?
I went and I picked up a burrito, and
Hell
now I'm
yeah.
back.
Where from? Chipotle?
𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐃.
𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐃.
Yeah.
They have burritos now.
Only online, which is kind of a weird move.
Yeah, it is.
Like keeping that safe for them.
Yeah. Why is that like close to the vest for them?
I
that
don't
they're-
know. You're a Mexican food restaurant. Maybe
Right.
burritos is just not like a big
It's-
endeavor for you.
It shouldn't be like this big reveal that you guys have. Like,
What?
if you have like DMT in the back, okay,
Yeah,
that's a big reveal.
That's an online only purchase.
Yes, that
but,
is
but
a-
burritos is pretty standard.
It's
I
like
don't know.
burrito with anchovies purchase, and then it comes and it's DMT. So that I could see, but not the big reveal being that
Yeah,
you get burrito.
I mean they're delicious. So would recommend if you can get the deets from your local 𝐂𝐿𝐿, if you can get the back order.
Totally. I actually have not left my apartment either. I've just been sitting on my fucking ass. I keep telling
Nice.
myself I'm gonna start working out, and it does not happen. So that's
what?
all I've been around. But it's been good because like the research for the show has been really fun and pretty
Yeah.
lengthy, honestly.
Honestly, I spent a lot of time learning
Yeah.
about this. I was going through like case studies from business schools.
Oh
and
my
stuff. I was like, what am I doing?
That's in depth.
It was. And well, I mean, mine's a doozy today. We'll get into it
Yes.
later. But I think it's going to be a bit of information for everybody to digest.
That'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yes.
It'll be good. So first I want to start. So we actually asked you guys on Instagram. You guys were awesome. You responded right away. What is your most embarrassing work story? And we had some fucking awesome responses.
They
What's
were pretty epic. y'all are dumb as hell. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
you guys? I can't believe none of you guys are fired. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Wait.
What's your most embarrassing work story?
Oh my god. Okay, so I was working at this startup, and they for some reason put me in charge of their entire ERP system, which is their enterprise resource planning system. It's a massive database of everything that they need to produce, like what they're trying to
Yeah.
build. So it's important, and it's like thousands and thousands of entries. So your girl goes and accidentally deletes
Oh fuck.
the entire database because I was trying to like do like add columns or something. I did not. I instead removed all of them.
And that couldn't have been the only version of it though, right?
No, well,
Okay.
so I did it, and then I'm sitting there, and you know those moments when you're at your desk and you're just like and you're,
And like you're hot.
yeah, you're sweating
Oh,
and
yeah.
freezing, and your brain is just like, you feel like you're in a dream, but you're like, no, like, I'm actually awake right now.
And I have to tell somebody that I just did this.
And then you run through, you're like, okay, what are my options? First of all, I could leave and just never come back. Like I could just like leave, but then I'd have to like change my phone number and like take an alias
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And like that's tough. But that's definitely the first thing I was like, what if I just fucking bounce?
What if I just leave right now? Yeah.
So I
Let's go.
didn't do that. And then you're just like, I'll blame it on somebody else. And you're like, I can't do that. I'm a good person, but like I'm not good enough of a person that it doesn't just briefly cross
Yeah.
your brain. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
where you're like, I'm not gonna do it, but like in a world,
Right,
in a world,
It was an option.
It was
Like it was like A, B, C, D. And it was at least
Yeah.
made it to D, but it was an option. Like
It
I'm gonna
was.
throw someone else.
Yeah,
under the
I'm not
bus.
that good of a person that I would never consider it, but I am
Right.
like not gonna like do it. And then option C, go and tell my boss. And my boss, I actually really liked him at that point. I really liked my boss, and he was a homie about it. He was just like, at first he like kind of let me squirm for a few minutes. He's like, it's really not good.
I mean,
like,
people make mistakes, you know.
it's a bad one.
Yeah.
But then he, in his infinite was this why he's boss man, he had copies from the evening before.
Oh, thank
So
God.
it automatically
Backfilled or whatever.
backed up
Yeah.
onto like
backed up.
another area.
Yeah.
So he was able to restore it, and I just had the task of having to basically redo everything from that day, which
Okay.
is kind of shitty, but like is fine.
Yeah. Well,
It was
a learning curve.
It was a learning curve. It was embarrassing. But the one nice thing is that it was such a complex mistake that most of the company, like people who did find out that had happened, it was so over their head that they were like,
yeah,
like,
whatever.
okay, what does that mean? Sounds bad.
Thank God. Thank God. Mine's a little bit more clear cut embarrassing.
Bad,
definitely a little bit more clear cut. People were not mistaken that it was embarrassing. So, by the way, we're going to read your guys' after I share this too, but I actually was working. It was like my second job out of college. So I'm still like really young. I was like 23 or whatever it was. I just moved to New York and I was like super excited to be working at this like fashion company. And so I'm working at a fucking fashion company, right? And we have a holiday party.
Very rom-com of you right
yes,
now.
Exactly.
Moved to New York. Second job. Going to work in a fashion company. It's the holiday party.
Exactly.
The cute boy.
Right. So it was the cute
Is
boy.
the waiter. What?
No. The cute boy worked at the fashion company. And so we go to like the after party, end up making out in front of everybody that I fucking work for, including the boss.
Okay.
And then him and I take a taxi to my house. This is like after like fucking like everybody in my entire company is like, well, May and this guy are fucking, obviously.
Yeah.
So then we go, and he's like a little bit more senior than me. It was a whole thing.
Okay.
So, but this company was such a shit show. Like they were
just like, this is the least. All right, that's like number 10 on
they
the
didn't
things
give a
I'm
fuck.
worried about.
Everybody else is like, we are doing lines in front of everybody else at this party. So what's worse?
Yeah,
like I don't know.
Yeah.
And did we partake in that? Yes or yes? Yes. And so anyway, I go home and I sleep with this guy and I don't even remember it. And then the next week, he came out as gay, and and go him, you know, whatever. I was the catalyst for that. And then he had a boyfriend that worked at the company as well. And the boyfriend, he wasn't dating him at the time that I banged him, but
they certainly knew one another.
Yeah, they knew one another, and they had probably fucked. And so that guy like hated me for a really long time. I was like, there's no reason to hate me. I was like, not only did he not choose me, he didn't choose my gender. Like,
yeah, like he really didn't want me.
Yeah, like he is like all
couldn't have been more clear about it.
Yeah. He is good.
No, thank you.
To go.
I'm all right.
He was totally fine with it. That's actually not the first time that's happened to me, and probably won't be the last.
That's hilarious. I have a story similar to that. Not work related, but
yeah.
it is a tragedy.
It is really a tragedy.
Unsung heroes, if I may.
I totally agree. So I'm gonna read some of your guys' most embarrassing stories, which I found fucking hilarious. So let's see. Somebody said, I'm a janitor and I caught the owner of a company banging a mistress on the work couch after hours. What the fuck do you do?
Why is that? But also that's like, you got so much leverage now, buddy. That's like kind of a win.
I'd be like, promote me to CEO. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I'm getting a raise.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right fucking
Christmas
now.
bonus.
Yeah, Christmas bonus.
Sure. I'm going to also need you to get rid of that couch.
Yeah.
I'm not cleaning it. How about that? I'm just not cleaning I'm your janitor. I'm not cleaning in there. It's disgusting.
That is so I actually know somebody who they had like the code to get into their office for some reason, and then they fucked somebody on like a Saturday in their office, but then it was all video recorded because it's obviously
right.
And their boss called them in the morning and it was like the super bro-y company and like Monday morning and was like, listen, I'm happy for you that you got laid, but you can't come in here. You're obviously fired. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
Yeah, you can't have sex in why? Also, like, I guess that's similar to kink or something like that, but just like, I don't know, what kind of offices are these people working at that you want to have like that's not a sexual environment for me.
It depends on the office. I've worked in some pretty sexy offices, actually.
Again, I work in IT, so
like, there's been some
like
nice ass leather couches in some of my offices.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess if you're like marketing or lawyer or something like that, IT with like the servers.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm like, okay.
Like the bright fluorescent lights.
Exactly. It's freezing because they have to like keep the machines cold. Like, okay.
Friend of the pod, Chris Waitkiss. Shout out to Chris.
Yes.
I wrote down your name here as Christ Waitkiss. Do with that as you will.
Yeah. It's a stage name.
He said, imagine it went by Christ Waitkiss.
I love that.
His act is offensive enough, I think.
Introducing Christ. Coming to the stage next is Christ.
Oh my God. But he wrote in, he goes, told my boss I love you while hanging up out of habit. That's
actually
amazing.
No, my boss did that to me once.
No way.
Dead serious.
Oh my
I
God.
loved, that was another boss I loved. So it was like, I was like,
Feeling was mutual, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I could tell he'd just been like driving forever, long day. And I feel like we were having like a chummy conversation about like a movie or some, just like,
right.
And then he's like, all right, love you.
Oh my God. He hung up and was like,
I know.
Yikes.
We just never mentioned it. I was like, all right, man.
I mean, what's more awkward, mentioning
cute.
it
was
or
kind
not?
of cute. Yeah, it was just like, I'm not like misinterpreting your signals.
Right.
I think you're just having a comfortable conversation and just are very tired.
Oh my God.
That's very funny though. Doing it to your boss is even
God.
funnier.
It's kind of like when you're a kid and you call your teacher, you're like, Mom. Oh fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Or you see them like at the grocery store and you're like, what the fuck is Mrs. like Martinez doing at the grocery store?
Okay, so I actually had a submission that I want to do that was kind of related to this one, where one of my friends wrote in and she deleted her boss's Valentine's Day plans with his wife from his calendar.
Oh my God.
That wife thinks you're fucking him.
100%.
For sure.
Yep.
And she's like a cute 20-something. Like,
yeah,
that wife hates you now.
So was his wife wicked pissed? Like,
I'm sure.
Did they miss their Valentines? Or did he forget
I
it was
didn't
Valentine's?
actually get the. I should have gotten the follow up on that. But
Yeah.
I would imagine like these are people. This is in the Bay, so it's people who
Right.
like live and die by their calendar. Like if
So
it's not
true.
on your calendar, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wife
By
is
the
like,
way,
where are you?
I would never fit in like San Francisco. Like everybody that I know in the tech scene in San Francisco, I'm like, you've got to calm down. You've got to calm. Like they're so
I hear ya.
so rigid about things, and I'm like, I work
Honestly, my friends
as little as I possibly can.
My friends are also that. I mean, I'm like kind of like
yeah.
I'm like right there,
right.
where we're like sending Google Cal invites for like happy hour. I'm like,
Yeah.
one
Oh,
of those.
I do that.
Okay,
I
good.
do that. But no, I mean, people are just like, really fucking intense out there. Has been my experience, but I don't
Yes, I would agree.
know.
Mountain biking is not relaxing.
No, it's not relaxing.
Don't
It sounds like a
wanna
fucking
fucking hear it.
disaster. Yeah.
Fun, maybe, but it's not relaxing. Okay.
No, that sounds like a nightmare. Somebody said, oh, I know who this was. 𝐂𝐍𝐄𝐃. Hi, Casey. Crazy. Jesus Christ. I'm like, Christ, Crazy.
Renaming the world.
Right. So she threw up in her hand at a work birthday lunch for a colleague.
A lunch? Wait, okay, was this like sick related or like
No,
drunk related?
Drunk related. But I think
Fuck yeah.
she's probably hungover is what it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
Damn.
Which is crazy. That's fucking hilarious. I've thrown up at work a lot actually in my day.
Really?
Yeah.
Once I threw up on a plane on a work trip.
Oh shit.
Yeah, which sucked,
Yeah.
but it was actually sickness related, so it like wasn't
Oh.
even cool. Like I
Yeah.
was like, probably shouldn't have gone on the work trip, Laura. You idiot.
Dude, throwing up when you're just sick as an adult is the most gnarly
worst
thing ever.
And yeah, because you're completely sober.
Oh.
Like your brain is like there for it. It's just like, oh, I hate everything.
Yeah, it's so bad.
No, thank you.
All right, let's see what else. Having sex with a cleaning lady. Was that wrong? It's a Seinfeld reference.
That sounds like a win. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Carry on.
For like 2 seconds, I was like, wait, what? He had sex with a clean. I was like, oh, he's referencing Seinfeld. I'm an idiot.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a joke from the show.
Got it.
Let's
Ooh,
see.
okay.
Oh, my friend Mari once Skype messaged like we used to sit in this like an open space office, and she went to go message her friend that she had a huge wedgie, and instead she messaged this guy that she had a crush on, and then she was able to like look at him and watch him read it. It was like, oh fuck. That same girl. This girl.
What would you do if you got that text?
I would be like, pick it? I don't know. Like,
I know, actually,
yeah.
we would probably like be like weirdly fine with it, but just like
Yeah.
normal, like
I know people are, and especially like this guy was like super duper like professional. I'm like, all right, we're just people in an office, and we're all like
Yeah.
25. Who fucking cares?
I know, like
People trying to like,
relax.
yeah.
Calm
I've
down.
always found that the less I do and the less professional I am, the better I do at sales.
God, good for. I mean,
People just want to talk to a human. You know what I mean?
that's true. They really like if you can. So you have to sound smart, but still like tough when you're talking about IT. Once
Right.
again, You're
That's true. Yeah, I talk about influencer stuff, so I'm like, this girl is fucking hashtag like whatever the fuck, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I even insane.
I
said,
love those moments when you're like looking at yourself like an out of body experience.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Totally.
Who's Cozy Bear?
I said
Hacker group. What? You don't know shit about that.
right.
But
I said to a prospect recently, I was like, we're like so fucking stoked to work with you. I was like, what am I talking? I don't even talk like this. This is not who I talk
you just turned into like a
yeah.
Kelly Bra.
But they were like from LA, and it was like whatever.
Yeah,
it fit their vibe. I was just mirroring my
That's good. That's a good salesperson right there.
Mirroring
You want
my client. Yeah, but I sounded like a fucking idiot and a douche in the meantime. Somebody wrote in my salary at bleep.com. I also worked there. That's fucking hilarious. Most embarrassing thing, my salary. It was crazy.
Too real.
Okay, I think I'll do one more. Actually, two more. Having to tell my boss I gave them chlamydia, and then finding out she was married.
Oh.
I'm like, I actually don't know this person. He's just like, I don't know him personally, and so I'm like, I need to know the backstory. I need to know more.
We should find out more about that and then circle back on that one on a future ep, because that's like a soap opera, I think.
Yeah.
Like Days of Our Lives. Is that actually an episode of that?
At least it's chlamydia, because it's like, okay, treat these pills and then just like sneak them into your husband's like soda or something, because and you might not even have to tell him.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like, what would you do if you cheated, hypothetically, if you cheated, got chlamydia, and then gave Matt chlamydia?
Honestly, like, that is karma. Like,
yeah.
You know, like, that's just like,
that's really
right
bad.
away they were like, you shouldn't have done that, and here's why.
Oh.
Here's chlamydia.
God, that would suck.
That better have been good dick.
Hope so.
All right, we'll circle back.
All right, well, I'll do some more digging, and then I'll circle back on the next episode. Okay, the last one I'll do, I think, unless I'm seeing other ones that are funny, but this one, I have a few actually. My boss reading my Google history to me, which I also need to know more about. Why? Probably like looked stuff up on his work computer, and then his boss was like, "Why are you looking up like
That's so funny,
anime porn?"
Ironically, again, I work in security, and totally like we've had to do those reports before.
Shit, no way.
Yeah.
What's the most embarrassing thing you've seen on them?
I mean, it's just always porn, and then sometimes it gets to be like weird porn where we're like, everyone's trying gets to and you're like, you cannot.
It's like young teenage girl gets fucked by dog or like some shit.
Yeah, young teenage girl where you're like,
disgusting.
this is starting to get into the crime area.
Oh boy.
On a corporate computer.
Oh, you hate
Keep it to yourself.
You hate to see it.
Anyway.
I feel like my search history, I wouldn't be embarrassed by the thing. Like if someone was like, you know, May, you Googled, what does this discharge mean? I'd be like, whatever. I'm a woman, okay? Yeah. And then, but if, like, I have really embarrassing search histories in the sense that, like, they're really stupid. Like, I'm like, who are the other people in the squad besides AOC? Like, no one knows. Nobody knows. And, like, I've Googled this and I still don't know.
Mine is, like, how do you make a sword?
Yeah.
That is something I Googled earnestly in the last week.
Wait, a sword?
A sword.
Why do you want to make one?
What is that called? I don't want to make one. I just don't know what it's called. You want to make? What do you want?
I think you just like. I think you would have to ironwork it, like weld it.
There's like a word I feel like for it.
I think welding. You weld the sword, right?
I don't know. I never found the answer because apparently I didn't come up with good enough search.
Because it's not 1808 and we're not fucking blacksmiths.
What's wrong with me? Okay.
Okay. The last one I'll read, and then I'm gonna move along with my story. I think is Just
keep it up.
You're like I'm so fucking bored with these.
No, I love these, but I didn't save any of mine. So,
I filled a coffee mug with red wine on a Tuesday afternoon, and I dropped it in a meeting.
That's a good one, and also, really I love that. And you know what? This is a beautiful thing now in the work from home environment. Not a problem.
No, it's not. I've done that actually a few times, which is pretty gross.
Red wine and coffee cup?
Yeah.
During meetings?
Yeah. Speaking of which, we could have a glass of red wine right now. We forgot that.
Oh, we can do it
at the break. Okay, cool.
Coming up next.
Cool. I think we should get into my story.
Yes, let's do your story.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you got to say.
Cool. So I don't really have so much of like a story, but more just like an update on some like new laws and stuff that have been passed that are pretty cool. And like it's more of just like an informative little spiel that I'll say.
Okay. We allow profiles, spiels, updates.
Yeah. Come here
billboards.
For general nonsense. Imagine trying to explain this podcast to somebody. They're like, well, sometimes they read like embarrassing hookups from work. Other times they
go into what I'm going to go into,
Yeah.
which is like cost structures for Hollywood.
Right, exactly. That was a fun episode. So
Yeah.
I have drugs, you have Hollywood. They
Love
match
it.
really
That's
well
hot.
together. Pretty hot.
Yeah.
We'll call this episode
Yeah.
Drugs in Hollywood. That's
Perfect.
fun. Okay, so basically I want to report on Oregon becoming the first state to legalize shrooms
Dude.
and decriminalize all drugs.
Okay, just a moment. Oregon, good for you.
Yeah, well
good
done.
for you.
It's pretty cool.
Also, Oregon's so cool. Like how did they get that first?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like they're just so chill over there.
They did
but-
weed. How far after Colorado did they do weed? What
I
if they
don't
were
know,
like,
but
weed's not okay?
Yeah, right. Massachusetts did weed pretty early on. Also, gay marriage. Go Mass.
Yeah, go Mass. Live Mass.
Yeah, live Mass.
Sorry.
So I actually don't know the answer to that, and maybe I should have. But
Yeah, no, whatever. It's fine. But
Yeah.
point being, I would have anticipated Colorado since they were like so cutting
Right.
edge on all of that. But then Oregon like got in there and
Oh, yeah.
came in hot with the shrooms. Maybe shrooms grow better there.
maybe I was also thinking like probably like Vermont. Like, how come they're not?
Yeah, what is the deal with that?
Yeah, like,
What?
I feel like Bernie would be like, "This is
Hello,
my number one
Bernie.
priority."
Yeah. Oh my God, it would just make his. That's so up their alley. Ben
Yeah.
and Jerry's with like
Exactly.
shroom flavor.
Ooh, wow, that'd be probably pretty gross, but kind of
Disgusting,
cool,
but
kinda
also
fun.
like you'd only need a couple bites and then you'd be like, this is.
I actually don't mind the taste of shrooms. I'm like, this tastes the same as a lot of health foods I eat anyway.
That's
Like,
so true. I'm
you know
like,
what I mean?
you've seen the supplements I take? I'm fine. I will
Exactly.
take the shroom.
Oh, you take like horse pills.
I
Those
do.
big ass ones
Oh,
from
I
our
do.
shoot. Yeah.
Yes.
What was it? Fish oil?
Fish oil, absolutely. Oh, fish oil is the best thing for your brain. I would take that, and then I take all these ones for like fiber and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you I
Ooh.
mean everybody poops.
Yeah.
Do you
Especially me.
yeah, cuz you're fiber. Do you get like the fishy burps though or no?
I get burpless.
Oh, burpless. There's just
Yeah,
such a thing.
There
okay.
is,
Interesting.
which is concerning because I don't know what they do to make it burpless, but
That's fine.
whatever. I still take it.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced that it helps your brain.
Yeah.
Process better.
Okay. Well, even if
That's
it's
my hot
placebo, I
take.
need
That's
that.
that's my put it out there. It's super cheap, couple of like $10 for a bottle, and makes you smarter.
Hell yeah.
Allegedly.
Okay, cool. So basically, Measure 110, a ballot initiated and funded by the Drug Policy Alliance, which is a nonprofit advocacy group backed in part by Mark Zuckerberg,
Okay.
which is really funny. Passed with more than 58% of the vote, which is awesome.
That's
So,
very cool.
first of all, though, I think that that's such a Mark Zuckerberg thing to advocate for. It's like most people are like, I'm advocating against like gun violence.
Yeah, or
and,
like for-profit prisons.
Right. Yeah, stuff like that.
I love shrooms.
Right. He's like,
I
I
want to
want to
disconnect from this fucking society.
I want to get fucked up, and I want to eventually probably profit a fuck ton on it.
I know.
You know what I mean? But fine.
He's like, I want to sell ads for shrooms on Facebook.
Exactly. Exactly. Actually, I work with a lot of CBD companies at my job, which I work with
Yes.
influencers because you can skirt like a lot of rules
Ad
that
rules.
way. Yeah, exactly.
Ah.
Which is kind of interesting.
That is just, that's its own.
It's its own thing.
We'll come back to it maybe.
We'll come back to it maybe. But possessing heroin, cocaine, meth, and other drugs for personal use is no longer a criminal offense in Oregon, which is pretty
Wow.
fucking wild.
Those
and-
are like pretty intense.
I know. I'm kind of interested to see how this goes
Yeah.
because like shrooms is one of those things where now that it's like, legal, and I'll get into how it's legal, but it kind of like takes a little bit of the magic away from it. And it's like, I
Yeah.
don't even fucking want to do shrooms now that it's not
Now
like
everyone's going to be like ayahuasca or nothing.
exactly right.
Like it's intense weekend
Actually, I think
experiences.
it includes ayahuasca.
What?
Yeah, ayahuasca and DMT. Yeah. So
Oh my god.
yeah, I know.
How
it's
about
kind
the
of
music
amazing.
festivals that are about to hit Portland?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Damn.
But like, no one's doing heroin because it's like
Yeah, no one's like,
chic to do. It's
oh my
like-
god, that's so cool. Who's your
Right.
heroin dealer? Oh god, so
Right.
sad.
It's really sad. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. And obviously, there's been other studies from like Portugal and stuff where
Yeah.
like they also decriminalized all of those, and it hasn't spiked. So it's nice to see
yeah.
what's going to happen there. And it's like one of those things where if you get caught with cocaine or heroin, you're not going to jail. They're going to find something that's actually going to help you, which is like
That's good. I
pretty
mean, and I
rad.
think that's a big part of it is people going to, for-profit prisons a lot of the times
Right.
for really minor drug charges or possession of like personal use when they're just addicted and stuff like that.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like a
And that
vicious
sucks.
cycle.
And it's like a waste for everybody. They're just going to get out of prison and do the drugs again because they
They
didn't
need
get
to
any
go to
proper
rehab
care.
centers or like do some, or just
Yeah.
it's just a waste of money and continues the cycle of poverty. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway.
not great. So anyway, the drugs are still against. Wait, blah blah blah. Oh, possession is now a civil, not criminal violation.
Mhm.
So like they're still against the law as is selling them, but possession is not a criminal offense. So you can't go to jail.
Right.
You can't go to
I was
jail.
like, civil is
Right. It's
not-
confusing.
It's just like a fine, mostly,
Yeah.
right? Or
yeah,
like,
exactly. Which I mean, I think that this whole thing is great. Like, I'm definitely for all of this. But yeah. But anyway, so let's see, like, blah blah blah.
yeah, I'm curious in
so
practice how it works.
yeah. So the shrooms are now like approved to be a homeopathic medicine, which I think is pretty cool. But it's not like where you go and like to a dispensary for weed or whatever. Like they make you go in and like trip with somebody watching you, and it's in like a place where
That
it's kind of a bummer.
is not cool.
No, I'm like, I don't want to
What?
be like supervised while I'm on shrooms. I want to
That
have fun
sounds
and like walk on the beach.
Most like if doing shrooms, like you just get so like anxious.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like you're gonna have a bad trip.
And also, I feel like these places are going to be like
Like a lab kind of vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Like a
Where you're like-
dispensary where it's like all these fluorescent lights and like
Right. Some
carpet that
teenager.
smells horrible. You know,
Or,
like,
like
oh, it's gonna be some zitty ass teenager behind the
Exactly.
thing, watching you.
Used to work
Ugh.
at a Blockbuster. And
Yeah, it sounds like a fucking nightmare.
so
Let's
that's
see.
an interesting part, but whatever. Phase 1, I guess.
Right,
We'll
exactly.
see what happens.
So yeah, so basically they're creating a program to administer the psilocybin, which is the
Yeah.
active ingredient for medicinal purposes. Let's see. The studies like so far on what it's doing for people has been pretty small, but they're like really promising, which is pretty
Right.
cool because I've had like anxiety. Obviously, I'm a fucking comedian. That's what we all have.
Duh.
But and I've had low moments in my life, and my friends are like, "Oh, you should go and get on antidepressants or whatever," which is totally cool. But I never pulled the trigger on that because I was always really scared about like taking a drug, which I know I shouldn't be. I know it's like a little illogical.
No, it's a inherently obviously emotional response. To
Exactly.
It's kind of
I don't want to have to take a pill every day, and so it just like scared me a little bit. And so I like the idea that there's like coming out with new research for things that are like, I mean, they grow out of fucking cow poop, but they're
So-
natural.
It's really funny. Ironically, my experience was super different. I was of the mindset, like growing up, I was like crazy athlete. I was like, I've trained my brain, like blah, blah, blah. And I obviously had intense anxiety, performance and everything like that. It was like all like very high pressure kind of
100%.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I did shrooms one time. I've done it a number of times, but this one time in specific where I had like a bad, like not even a bad trip, but like
Just like an anxious
I
trip.
had a full-blown anxiety attack
Oh, no.
on them. But it was like
Oh,
a very
God.
like introspective anxiety attack. And
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't normal. And like
It's probably just a microcosm of everything going on in your life. You needed to take
absolutely,
like
it
a
just
chill
it just
pill.
was like a take a seat and just be like, this is too much anxiety.
Right.
So then I went to a psychologist or psychiatrist rather, and worked on like a treatment plan. And now I take anti-anxiety medication,
Mhm.
and very low dose, like one that works for me. And I swear to God, it has helped me immensely.
Yeah.
It's
I don't doubt
really,
it.
really cool. But it was
Yeah.
one of those things like it almost took shrooms to like make me kind of like have that
Interesting.
come to Jesus moment of just
Yeah.
like your brain isn't wired normal, like or
Yeah,
not
yeah.
normal, but like the way your brain is kind of
You could live a easier life.
you can live an easier life.
Yeah.
And it's also like I'm choosing to live in New York. I'm choosing to do all of these really high pressure things, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I like in order to be able to work through that, I should just make sure I'm also taking care of myself, which includes
Right.
like doing therapy and
yeah.
taking any necessary medication. It's like if you had a liver or I don't know, like something wrong with another piece of your body, you'd
Right.
handle it.
Of course. Yeah, no, totally. And actually that could be really interesting for some of these people. Maybe they have issues with whatever they have,
They just
and
like
then
help you take that step.
yeah, and then they'll maybe do this at one of the facilities, and then find out that they need a regimen.
Yeah.
But basically, what they're saying, this potential benefits range from potential benefits for a range of medical health conditions, including depression, anxiety, PTSD, and addiction, which I found really interesting. Addiction, because I'm like, technically it's a drug, but
yeah.
if I were in recovery, I probably would not be cool with that, right?
It depends, because it's so different than any other drugs.
That's true.
I
don't know. I've done a fuckload of cocaine, but I've never taken like heroin or anything like that.
Oh God, I have no idea how that would all work. But maybe
Yeah.
it would help you kind of like, look at the demons that are.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're-
I'm not a psychologist. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're like,
how about you do some research? You let us know.
yeah, exactly.
Do a ton of shrooms and report back.
Exactly. So yeah, but unlike other medications for such conditions, the research is saying that just 1 or 2 doses can have effects for years or even decades, which I kind of agree with.
100%.
Because like the first time I took shrooms, I saw, obviously this is everyone's experience, but you see things like a lot more clearly about like you detach what's really important from what you think is really important.
Right.
And then, I don't know. I've definitely I have a different outlook, which is such a fucking heady thing to say. Everyone at home is rolling their eyes so hard right now.
Like, we get it. You
But-
do drugs, May.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think it did have like a positive effect on like my overall outlook for not just the trip. Like afterwards,
I would agree.
differently.
Again, like it kind of makes you reset, but I don't know. I've also had some pretty funny stories on those.
Yeah.
Once I was doing it with my boyfriend, and we were staying in an Airbnb, and had a great trip, and then we decided to watch like a scary movie. Why
Yeah.
did we do
my
that?
God, I have no idea.
We just like,
Where was the Airbnb?
this was in Austin when I lived in
Okay.
Austin. So it was like 40 minutes or so outside of the city. And we start watching that, and it was one of those ones where like everything like was like a bunch of different shapes and stuff like that, like a
Yeah.
pretty visual one. So I was
love the
watching them.
visual ones.
It was really cool. It was a really cool experience. But then we started watching that, and I was like, don't love that. So we turned it off, and then like,
What was the movie? Wait, what was the movie?
I wish I could remember. It was some weird, trippy cartoon,
Oh God.
scary cartoon, and I was
Okay.
just like, this is a nightmare.
Like Nightmare Before Christmas, trippy or
Kind of that vibe,
Okay.
but even more like existential. I should find
Okay.
it, and
Yeah.
it was. I was like, did I hallucinate this cartoon?
You
Is this not even real?
you find out it's like up. Like
Which that might even track. No, but so I'm trying to sleep, and I couldn't sleep, and so by 3 a.m, I was just like, get up, we're going,
Yeah.
we're packing up. I don't like this place. It's
Oh
got
my
bad
God.
energy.
Oh
And we
no.
packed up the car and made him try us off.
What the fuck are you dead ass at 3 o'clock in the morning? Holy
He's
shit.
just like, ugh.
Is that the last time you did shrooms?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I've done it a lot
Yeah,
since
yeah.
then. I like acid a little bit better.
Yeah,
because
that's
it's more
interesting.
controlled, in my opinion.
See, I have still never done acid because it's the natural versus not natural thing to me. Like
Yeah,
I get really
I get
scared
that.
about the fact that it's called acid. First of all, I'm like,
Yeah,
holy
it's
shit.
a weird name for it. Like,
Yeah.
why did we have to?
Right, it's like a really gnarly name.
Yeah.
It should be called. Literally, it's the same as like antifreeze. I'd be
Yeah,
like, I don't
yeah.
want to take antifreeze.
Yeah, you die if you go into a vat of acid. Like,
Right.
what? Like,
Exactly.
I've seen superhero movies.
I feel like maybe that was like back when people were really afraid of drugs. They just like named
Yeah,
it acid to discourage
Part
people.
of who was that president who was really
Nixon?
Was it?
Reagan? Ronald Reagan. When he was like, drugs are enemy number one or whatever.
Right.
He should see the fucking opioid crisis. Holy fuck.
Yeah, he'd have a.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down. But,
But,
so I wanted to ask you this. So what's the worst setting you've ever done shrooms in? Probably that.
Probably the.
Do this thing where like I'll trip for a really long time and then I'm like, I'm already tripping today, so I might as well just trip the whole day, and then I take like more shrooms, and then that's when it gets scary.
Totally. 'Cause
And
your
which
body's
is
just
usually
like,
at night. My
Yeah.
body's like, enough. It's like being drunk, being hungover, and then going immediately back to drinking.
Yeah. Yep.
I would say the worst setting that I've done shrooms in, me and Mark had this habit where like the first time we did shrooms was in Venice Beach, and we just ended up by the porta potties, and we were like around the porta potties for like what felt like, it literally felt like 2 hours. And we were talking by the porta potties, and then eventually like we looked at each other, and there's like all these like people like shooting up, and like it's like by the porta potties on Venice Beach. And we were like, what are we doing here? Like, we're on a Venice Beach. Let's go walk on the sand.
Yeah, why are we hanging by the porta potties?
And then the second time we did shrooms in Providence, Rhode Island, which I don't really recommend because it was winter time. It was cold in Providence, Rhode Island. And we were like walking around the city on shrooms, and then we eventually got to this place where there was porta potties, and we like sat next to the porta potties.
You're like, oh, I feel safe. This feels much better. What is your consciousness trying to tell you?
I don't know. And so me and Mark were laughing so fucking hard. Obviously, we're on shrooms, so it's like a laugh riot. But we're like, there's something about us that like we think we like belong next to these porta potties. We're like, this is the best we can do is sitting next to these porta. And it's happened twice, and I thought that was fucking hilarious.
I have one other. This is acid story, but related. So probably the worst experience taking acid I've ever had was Matt and I were in Florida, and we were going to go to the beach and spend the day and like, just take acid and chill.
Yeah.
And his mother was there, but she was not supposed to come. Like, she was like,
oh my God. And you're on acid?
So we took acid, went downstairs, and his mom shows up on like, she's like, oh, I'm going to come with you.
What do you do? Do you just barf?
And,
like, what do you do?
And then she started. And then she immediately started complaining about a number of her health conditions. Like, she was like,
my God.
My neck is getting this thing. I think I'm not going to be able to move my neck, and it's going to get frozen. And I was just like, I can't have this kind of energy in my So she came with us to the beach. And
you're both high on acid. Shut up.
Thank Christ. After like 40 minutes, she decided to go back in.
Oh my
but it
God.
was just for the first, we were like, this is
the worst possible thing that could possibly happen.
This is happening.
Oh my God.
It was great. It was pretty great. But that was really fun. It was really one of probably the best trips I've ever had, actually.
Oh, well, thank God.
So much fun, but like, whoa. And also, I think that was part of the reason it was so comical that like his like elderly mother was coming with us while we had just dropped out.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
It was hilarious.
That is so.
She was complaining the entire time.
You're like,
could not have. I was just like,
finally, you just snap. You're like, you're fucking up my high.
Yeah.
She's like, excuse me, young lady, what the fuck are you talking about?
What?
Wow, that is.
It was wonderful.
Insane. You must have been so glad when she went back and just been like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. Well, I actually at a certain point, like about 30 minutes in, I was just like, well, this is happening, and just strap in. But then she eventually. She left, and I was like, okay, that's probably for the best. But then we did eventually at the very end of it circle back and have dinner with her.
Oh, okay. But
that was at the like very end, so we were just like very giggly.
Yeah, very giggly, and your mind is like
such
mush.
A fun dinner.
Yeah. She's like, you guys are having a lot of fun, but
I
you're
was like,
really
we're gonna get
dumb.
nachos.
Yeah, great. Love nachos. Let's see. So the counter argument against what's going on there is critics are saying that it could go very wrong for a few reasons. One, like if the facilitators aren't properly trained, obviously, but it's like, okay, then.
But like they accidentally shoot them. Like,
yeah. Like
should
what?
train them.
Exactly. If patients aren't properly vetted for conditions like schizophrenia.
Okay. Yeah, that's a risk. But
that's
like,
definitely a risk.
They're gonna if they.
But if they're like if there's something wrong with the trip, then they're gonna have somebody there to watch them.
That's a great point. And also, it's just like that's not that many people. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna make a policy that's gonna fit like everyone. So like you should try to vet them correctly.
Yeah,
that
so
should
true.
be part of it.
So true. So they're worried about that these things leading to bad trips and scary anecdotes. I'm like, if that's the worst thing that happens,
if scary anecdotes is your negative reason,
I'm like, we just had scary anecdotes,
and
we're fine with it.
Mom,
yeah, exactly.
Funny.
Blah blah blah. Let's see. It's just important to have a solid structure. Now, Washington D.C. also decriminalized mushrooms, which basically just means that the cops aren't going to be like prioritizing that. So,
that's cool.
It's still illegal, but you just can't like.
It's like, yeah.
And also the possession of any ethogenic plants is what they're called, like DMT, Rogan's favorite. He'll be going to Washington D.C. soon.
There you go.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. In theory, like if someone's jaywalking and someone has shrooms, they would have to go like arrest the jaywalker over the person on shrooms.
Oh, I love that.
In theory.
I
mean, we'll see in practice, but whatever.
Interesting. Okay,
but,
so DC, that will be an interesting example because they have an interesting homeless problem.
They do.
It's kind of bad.
It's really bad.
Like, yeah, I would say it ranks.
It also in Oregon, no, in Portland.
I don't know.
I don't know. I know in like San Francisco and
San
Seattle,
Francisco, obviously. I don't know. We'd have to search. I don't have enough data there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of unknowns. People are wondering if Oregon's if Oregon is going to become another drug capital, like another drug like tourism capital, similar to, of course,
Denver.
Amsterdam.
Or Amsterdam.
So have you been to Amsterdam?
No.
Oh my God. It's pretty crazy. I went in college, so like maybe it's not that crazy, and I just thought it was.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But what was so crazy is we went to like this sex show in Amsterdam, which is legal there too. So you go and you like watch people have sex in real time. So it's basically like watching like live porn.
Have you ever been to the Box?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it more crazy than that?
It was more crazy in the sense that like some of these girls, I'm like, oh boy. Like they would be like a rotating bed and there'd be these guys with these dicks that I'm like, how is the dick that big? Like I've never seen it. And it would be like these tiny girls with braces.
I don't like
and
that.
It was horrible. And I went with all of like these friends that I like knew from study abroad, and they were all like kind of prude, and I like forced them to go because I was like, we're in Amsterdam, like let's go.
No,
it's
I
funny.
Get it. It's like, yeah.
And they like turned to me like
they
in
were
the
like,
middle
oh,
of it.
May wanted to be here.
Yeah,
May.
because it's like it's us. There's six like girls from college, and then everybody else was like creepy businessmen that were all like jerking off for sure. And then we left, and my friends were like, first of all, you made us pay fucking €60 for that shit. And then and I was like, oh my God, and that girl with braces.
It's a great story though.
Yeah, I was like, that girl with braces, holy shit. My friend goes, I know, right? She couldn't dance for shit. I was like, that's not what I was referring to.
Maybe because she hasn't been trained yet, because she hasn't gone through school. Okay.
Because she hasn't barely gotten her fucking period, dude.
God.
It was insane. It was really fucking gross. And also another thing that I thought was gross is like there's the red light district where there's like, you know, all types of prostitutes, or sex workers, I think is
whatever, right?
yeah.
Roxanne.
And but what I thought was like weird at the time was I'd see like regular looking people going into them, and I always had this thought in my mind that only like sleaze bags went to sex workers, but I think it's like a lot more common than we think. I think we probably know a lot of men that get sex workers, don't you think?
What? Yeah, no one, like, I mean, again, I look like I run HR. Like, no one's telling me about any of this. So
right. I have a friend.
Curious. It's New York City.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, it's obviously here.
I have a friend who's like a finance bro. Like, you would not be surprised that he has been to. But actually, so one thing that's not legal in the Netherlands anymore is hallucinogenic mushrooms, and the reason why is because they tightened the liberal drug policies after the suicide of an intoxicated teenage girl. So, and it was really, you know, a shame, obviously, but I think like that's the difference between other countries and us is like something horrible happens and they like crack down on it, where we're like,
hypothetically,
and we're like,
in a world,
here's the thing, like there's only like a mass shooting every fucking 15 minutes, but let's not crack down on gun laws.
It's
because they're profitable.
Exactly. We're not exactly consistent.
No,
policies.
For sure not. But yeah, I mean,
we'll keep them guessing, America.
So there was a bunch of tourists that other things happened to as well. Like a Danish tourist drove his car through a campground. Like a bunch of like other crazy shit happened before they just like pulled the plug on it. But basically, owners of shops were saying that it's a shame because the media really blew this up into a big issue, and it was like a combination of a bunch of drugs, and they're just blaming it on the mushrooms. But used in the right way, there should be no problem with mushrooms. The biggest problem in this shop owner, 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐄𝐃 from the Netherlands, opinion is just alcohol. So
well, we're not getting rid of that. On that
note. We're definitely not. On that note, let's get a glass of wine for your story
and go into my story. But that was super interesting.
Oh, thanks. I hope you guys thought so.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Oh my gosh, we are back.
We're back.
We have wine now.
Thank God.
Which is good because after all that talk about drugs.
Right. Which is good because I've only been drinking the entire fucking weekend. So.
Yeah, well, cheers to that. Keep it going. Well, that's good because my story is all about Hollywood, and Hollywood is full of hot and rich people, which is why we mostly talk about Hollywood.
Yes.
So I figured I would as well, because there is some crazy shit going on right now that is basically going to completely change the movie industry.
Really? Okay.
100%. 100%. So, the the thesis of this whole thing, or like the main headline that what happened is a longer story, is Warner Media just moved their full 2021 roster to release simultaneously on HBO Max as going to theaters. Yes.
Wait a minute. So back it up. So instead of like,
so normally, obviously, Warner Media studio, they produce a movie, it goes to the theater, it plays in the theater for 2-3 months or so, kind of depending on how well it does. And then it kind of goes off for a little while. Then it comes back and it'll go on streaming or DVD, whatever. I don't even, etc. Whatever, released to the general population. Well, because of the pandemic, allegedly, they are doing this where they're doing a release online and in theaters at the same exact time, which is unprecedented isn't even the right word for it.
But wait a minute. So theaters aren't even open right now, are they?
This is for the 2021.
Okay.
So there's a lot that's going into this. And let me just tell you, when I say Hollywood is angry, that's like not even, they're mad. They are big mad.
Well, everybody's all of a sudden in a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, and also there's like a ton of obviously monetary things around this, which I'm going to go into because it's pretty complicated. Okay. But like people are fucking pissed and I'm obsessed with it. It is the best thing ever, just watching them lose their shit over it.
Okay.
So to give you an example of some of the movies, just like the size of the movies that are going to be going onto HBO Max, there's like 17 titles. Little Things, Judas and the Black Messiah, Tom and Jerry, Godzilla vs. Kong, which is an important one. Anyway, we'll circle back on that. Okay. Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Okay. In the Heights, Space Jam: A New Legacy. What? Which kind of fun, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to watch the shit out of that.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Suicide Squad, which is one of those like tentpole ones. Reminisce, Malignant, Dune, which is enormous amount of money going into Dune.
Really? What's it about?
Dune is one of those right there. One of those sci-fi books. It's like probably one of the most popular ones of.
Oh, okay.
When was it written? I think it was written in like the 80s or something like that. It's just like it's a iconic book, and now they're finally making it into a movie. Or maybe they've done it before, but this time they're like, hundreds and hundreds of $1 million are going into this movie. So it's one of those.
Yeah, it's like an Avatar where it's gonna be that big.
Yeah, that kind of energy. Cool. Many Saints of Newark, King Richard, Cry Macho, and Matrix 4. Those are all the movies that, these are multi-year projects. They all have A-list celebrities basically attached to them. And normally they were going to go, to the movie theater, box office, red carpet, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Now on HBO Max.
Oh my God.
Which is insane. So I need to kind of like outline a few of the players involved just to give you kind of an idea of who's going around in this.
Okay.
It's a shit show. So first of all, what's important is the theaters. Theaters obviously right now, bummer. Yeah. Not doing so hot. Yeah, you can't really sit in a theater at the moment. Yeah. I do think some are open in some areas.
Is that right? Yeah.
Some might be, but some are not.
I mean, definitely not in New York, obviously.
Oh, for sure not. And actually, like I think Regal almost went. So there's three major like big groups. AMC Theaters, which has about 650 theaters. They're the biggest player. Regal and Cinemark, who both have around 500 theaters. Regal almost went under, but they got a big loan that kind of saved them from bankruptcy. Point being, like these guys represent, I would estimate probably like 75% of all theaters. Those three. Yeah. And then there's the big six studios, which is Disney, Warner Brothers, Fox, 20th Century Fox, Sony, Universal, and Paramount. What's interesting is Disney's obviously owned by Disney. They it's a conglomerate. Warner Brothers is part of Warner Media. Warner Brothers is the important one in this story, which is part of AT&T, which is important to remember. Fox is also owned by Disney, probably because, for their more adult entertainment. Sony. Universal is part of NBC, which is part of Comcast. Paramount is part of Viacom CBS.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes.
Fucking incestual little like map there.
Yes.
Got it. And then there's the streamers. So there's HBO Max, who's the main person in this they're not people, in this story, and they have about 12 million active U.S. subscribers. They are owned by Warner Media, owned by AT&T, so that's why that's important. So Warner Media and HBO Max are like, they fuck.
Okay.
Disney Plus, which has 86.8 million subscribers, is obviously owned by Disney. Hulu has 38.8 million subscribers, also owned by Disney, because they agreed to buy out all of Comcast ownership by 2024. Sure. Then to put this kind of in perspective, Netflix has 195 million subscribers.
Okay.
And Amazon Prime has 26 million Amazon Prime Video, like active subscribers. Kind of hard to estimate that because I have Amazon Prime Video and let's be real.
No, I mean I watch it for 30 Rock, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to go back and rewatch, that would do that. And then there's Peacock to round this all out, with that has 26 million subscribers, owned by NBC Universal, owned by Comcast. Whew.
Wow.
Okay. So there's a lot of people involved here is the point. Basically, 3 different groups. The streaming platforms, which are often ancestrally combined with the studios. Obviously, there's going to be links there. And then there's the theaters. The theaters are just getting fucked right now. They are not in a good place, and they have no stake in any of this other side, which is like the content creation and content distribution online. So let's go back in time to April of this year. Obviously, shit was hitting the fan in a big way. April 2020.
What happened? What do you mean?
So COVID was rocking the world. Certainly theaters were not open at that point. No one was pretending at that point that we could do that. And this little movie called Trolls 2, Trolls World Tour.
Great soundtrack.
Great.
It really does.
There you go.
I forget what song it was, but I was like, my new favorite song is from the movie Trolls.
I love that.
Yeah, it was really good. I think it was a Justin Timberlake song.
That's fantastic. Well, good for them. But anyway, so they were supposed to release around that time period. Okay. The kids were screaming for it. They were like, we need our Trolls 2. Come on. How do we get access to it? Hit me with it. I need this.
Yeah.
And Universal was like, okay, it's a global pandemic. This is unprecedented. Normally we would do a theater release, but what we're going to do is also release this because of the pandemic on
parents are like,
online.
Thank God, a fucking hour to sit my child
100%. And so they put it online, and it made they put it on. I don't think they had one specific streaming service. I think they kind of did a number of them. I'm not positive on that, but they didn't do it in theaters at the same time. And basically what happened there is they made $100 million in rental fees. Universal collected from that, which is smaller than the $153 million that the original Trolls one had made. But because they released it on streaming, they made, when you release a movie in the theater, you split it 50-50, studio and the theater. That's the profit distribution.
Okay.
So when you release it on demand, it's 80-20. Because obviously,
80-20 who?
Studio gets 80%. So even though Trolls 2 made $50 million less dollars in release, Universal took home a larger check because it was 80% of that rather than 50% of the 150, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. But remind me, so that's the people that have actually made the movie get more? Okay.
Right. The studio. Okay. To be clear, there's a lot of players still needing to have the trick. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute as well. So all these numbers right now, let me just tell you who's not making more money in this scenario.
Okay.
The theaters. Fucking furious. Obviously, they were semi-closed or whatever. They were not exactly in a position to, what are you really going to do?
There's nothing they can do.
Their perspective is that they should have waited, especially back then. They didn't know how long. Obviously, no one knew.
Right.
They should not have released it then, and they were so angry that AMC Theaters was like, we will never ever play another Universal movie in our theaters.
They're gonna come back on that though.
Mic drop. I feel like there was. I remember when this all happened. It was at least a shady week where they were like, no. We're fucking AMC Theaters.
Okay.
We're not gonna play your shitty movies anymore. You can take your Trolls too. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And
then
Universal was just
fan.
Okay. I know.
Right.
So that was drama, but that's not even the main drama that we're talking about. It gets way more intense.
Okay.
But basically they were like, okay, they squabble back and forth for a little bit, and they eventually decide to reduce the amount of exclusive time that the theaters had from 90 days to 17 days. So it was a little over 2 weeks. 2.5 weeks or so that it gets to be in theaters, then it would go on demand. And sure, we're all happy for a considerable amount of the summer. Pandemic kind of continues along. Here we are. It's December.
Yeah, here it fucking goes.
It keeps on going. First, what I'm gonna this is like a little bit important. So what I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about is how this 50-50 rule works.
Okay.
So basically, the studios are gonna pay for all the marketing and production cost of the film, but only haul in 50% of the ticket sales. So that's why it was so important for them to try to get that additional money from there, because they're trying to recoup all those losses. And basically, the theaters make, they obviously have their own costs of maintaining and paying employees and concessions or whatever like that, but their costs are quite different. Their cost structure is different,
right?
So they did all that, shortened the window, but either way, they're still like kind of like licking their chops at this 80-20 rule that they would like to go forward with.
Okay.
Keeping in mind, usually these cost between $60 to $7 million to produce, $40 million to $50 million to market. Their tentpole films could cost upwards of $150 million.
Oh, easily.
to make a movie. Yeah, absolutely. Like any of those big ones that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So this happens. Now it's December. We're going into the new year. Jason Kilar, who is Warner Media's CEO, was the former CEO of Hulu.
Okay.
And was brought in and has basically been pretty bullish on the fact that their main thing at Warner Media is to expand HBO Max. HBO Max, if you remember the numbers from earlier, is a little bitch.
Yeah.
It has no subscribers. It has 12 million subscribers compared to even Disney Plus has 86 million.
I was surprised by that one.
Even Peacock has 26 million.
Yeah, what the fuck even is Peacock? It's ABC's thing, or
it's
NBC.
It's NBC's, which actually has some pretty good titles, but just like HBO Max, I think it's part of the reason is because they had HBO Go, HBO. They really just diced it up. Like
Now,
it was
and
a while where I was like, what am I paying for? What's happening? But
I
anyway,
think I was paying like 30 different subscriptions for essentially the same stuff. I was like, what is
it got really confusing. I would argue that was a big part of their problem in getting this to this point. But now Warner Media is like, we're going to do this. And also, they've also had the directive from AT&T, Big Boss, that they're like, clearly streaming is the future. What are we doing? Get that bigger.
Yeah.
So, mic drop. Jason makes the announcement like 2 weeks ago, early December, that all 17 of their movies are going to go straight to on demand in 2021.
Okay.
Keep in mind, vaccine has been approved. It's being administered.
Yes.
By the time Matrix 4 and Dune comes out, like people will probably, theaters will be back.
Yeah.
So this is a huge
slap in the face.
Huge deal. And in the eyes of some agents, unfair self-dealing, because obviously Warner Media and HBO Max are owned by, the same group. Mm-hmm. They have profit ties in with one another, but everything else isn't necessarily being funded by them. So you have to remember that it's like the production companies come in and they're not necessarily the same. Their investors are like, you have a fiduciary duty to maximize the price that we're going to be getting for this content. And HBO Max is probably not giving you the best deal on the streaming rights because you own them.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're probably or rather, you're not getting paid as much aggressively as you would be for these titles.
Right.
So they are super mad. Here's a quote from Christopher Nolan, who's the director behind Tenet, which I'll go back to.
Okay.
Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service. Okay, Christopher Nolan, fucking mic drop. We got it, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not fucking wrong, though. It's really not. It's like going to bed with somebody who, when you're drunk, you think he's super hot, then you wake up and he's like a troll.
Yeah.
And he's like 5'1".
But what's
no offense to 5'1" men out there.
I know. There's some gorgeous ones, but yeah.
Yeah.
We've had those situations.
Damn,
but what's
dude.
also,
that sucks.
They are heated. They are heated right now. But what's
he just straight up was like, this is the worst streaming service.
Oh, he's unbelievably angry.
Damn.
Part of the reason for this is that a lot of the producers, the directors, and the A-list celebrities, what they get paid on is they're compensated on, they get two payments, an upfront fee, and then their second one is a payment based on how the film does. Okay. So it's you want to make sure that you're getting a net percentage, not a gross percentage. Yes, which is its own story. Do you remember the movie Coming to America with Eddie Murphy?
Yes.
Great movie.
Yeah.
And basically they made no money on it, the actors,
Oh, no.
because they were all paid in gross percentage points based
Okay.
on how the movie did, which
Yeah.
whittled down to like, you can basically say like, oh, our marketing cost this much and catering cost this much and blah, 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 blah. And oh, we ended up losing money. Oh my God. Versus like, it really made like $300 million or something. I mean,
Right.
Coming to America is an iconic
Yeah,
movie.
exactly.
Damn,
that's fucked up.
So point being, you want to, those percentage points are incredibly valuable. It's things that like that can pay you forever for a really, really, really long time. That money makes a ton of wheelbarrows full of cash for these people. So all of these directors, writers, producers, all the really top-notch people are going to get a percentage of those points in the movies. And the fact that now it's going straight to on demand completely changes the distribution model. How obviously box office, markets like that no longer counts, and a lot of that's built into their contract. So they're just like, half of our contract no longer applies because you kind of.
So do they just take the money?
They don't know. That's the thing right now. They're like hung out to dry. It's a shit show. It couldn't be more intense. Damn. My favorite, I would say this is probably the group that has the biggest gripe. I really feel bad for these folks. Legendary Entertainment, which is owned by China's Dalian Wanda Group, which I'm sure they're fine monetarily. But Legendary basically took on the production costs of Dune and Godzilla versus Kong, which is a unbelievable amount of money. Let's just remember Godzilla, you destroy a city. Like, that's kind of like...
That's a lot of, like... What do you even call that?
Godzilla was you destroy a city, and didn't Kong also destroy a king city?
Yeah, I
it's
think
two
so.
cities.
2 cities you have to destroy. That's a lot.
Very expensive. So, and it had group people like Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Jason Momoa. Not
Zendaya,
cheap.
so sexy.
I know.
She's so hot.
So hot.
I love her in Euphoria. Whenever I see them having sex in Euphoria, I'm like, I might be into child porn.
Oh my God, Euphoria is that what? That's one of those. I'm like, too many hot teens.
Yeah,
I need to turn this off. What's going on?
I realize that like logically, I'm like, this actor is like 25, but when I'm watching it, I'm like, when are these 16-year-olds gonna fuck again?
Yeah,
like,
why are they fucking right now?
And
I'm like,
so sexy.
What is happening?
Why am I rooting for this?
Okay. So Legendary was already mad at Warner because a couple months ago, Netflix offered to buy Godzilla versus Kong for $250 million, noting Godzilla versus Kong cost about $155 million to build to make. So that's like $100 million, net, whatever. Yeah. Minus some stuff, I'm sure. But point being, seemed to be a pretty good deal. Legendary wanted to do the deal. Warner Media blocked that sale. They said you cannot sell it to Netflix, and because they were involved, they were able to do that legally. Yeah. And now they're going and releasing it on their own streaming service, HBO Max. Oh my God. They're going to court. I can't express this enough how hard they are going to go to court.
Not a small amount of money.
They are not leaving court. They are going to they're going to live there.
They're going to live there.
Get an apartment.
They're going to shower in court.
Oh man. So Legendary Entertainment's really mad, but that's not the only, so far we've got, what's his name? Christopher Nolan is upset. Legendary Entertainment, very upset. Who's not upset?
Tell me.
Do you remember Wonder Woman 1984?
Oh, Gal
Gadot.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, that's coming out, I think, on Christmas. I think.
Really? Okay.
I believe so.
New Wonder Woman or?
New Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Which I cried at the first Wonder Woman.
I never saw it.
I watched it on an airplane, and every time I watch a movie on an airplane, I cry. Like every time.
Actually, same. There's something
it's
about
something
airplanes.
about the altitude, I think. But
I think it's more like the solitude. Like, it's just me and like...
I think there's a chemical thing, too.
Maybe. And there's... Because you're right. I cry a lot on airplanes. And I always thought it was because I couldn't like text and distract myself. And then I'm like, I'm sitting there with my own
You're like,
thoughts.
I need to figure something out.
Yeah, I'm like, no, my thoughts. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate anything to escape my thoughts. Anything. But yeah. Okay, so you saw it on an airplane. It was amazing.
I saw it on an airplane. It was, I don't know if critics loved it, but I'm like a sucker for anything with Gal Gadot. I was like, oh my God, she was incredible. Women representation. Okay. I'm sobbing on an airplane.
I'll have to watch it.
Anyway, so the next one's coming out. We'll definitely be watching it, but it is going to HBO Max. I'm almost positive.
Oh boy.
Of course.
Okay.
But this one's interesting. This was actually announced. It's coming out in like 2 weeks. So this one was actually announced maybe 2 months ago or so, maybe more. I'm missing the background around it. But they approached this one super differently because they want a third Wonder Woman in the series.
Okay.
So they went to Gal Gadot, and then the this pretty badass producer. What's
Yeah, what about the writers? I'd be like, yo, I have to write this fucking movie.
I know. So basically, they went to what's her name? Oh, Patty Jenkins, who's the director, excuse me, and Gal Gadot, and they were like, hey, we want to move this to HBO Max. Totally get that. That's kind of a fucking crazy ask. What would it take? Let me write you a check. And they were like, money talks. Fine. We make $10 million each. So they both got paid $10 million. I don't know if the others got compensated on this as well. But
that seems low, though.
I kind of thought so too. But whatever.
I mean,
I'm assuming they like lawyered up and like figured it out.
That is no small sum of money. But it also feels like Gal Gadot is worth more than $10 million.
By the way, this is in combination with their initial fees.
Oh,
this is just to make up for. So their first check is like what they're paid for the movie. Their second check being those production points that we were talking about. So the ones that they kind of were going to be missing out on because it wasn't going to be released in the box offices. It was going to be released on HBO Max on Christmas, which I guess I'll be doing a trial for. And they wanted a third in the series. They wanted to protect their relationship with this director and Gal. Obviously, why wouldn't you? She's amazing. Patty, also notably. Pretty cool. She is going to be producing the next Star Wars film that's coming out in 2024 called Rogue Squadron.
Great. Okay.
I don't watch Star Wars.
No, me neither. I have zero interest in Star Wars.
In a world.
In a world
I'd be excited about that. Point
right.
being, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So they took care of her, but they didn't do that for any of the 17 other movies which had plenty of A-list actors in it.
Yeah.
So now those motherfuckers are big mad. They're like, wait, so I'm not as important as Gal Gadot?
Right.
They're upset.
And yeah, you're not.
So some people
also,
started to...
I didn't put this on. Should we stop it? And then you have yours on. Is anything else okay?
That's good.
Okay, sorry. We'll have to cut this out. Or keep it in. Hi.
That's fine.
Do you want me to put it on now, though?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, and cut.
Okay, cut back in. Point being, so Legendary Entertainment's angry. Christopher Nolan's angry. Gal Gadot's not angry.
No, she's like,
everyone who like is also an A-list celebrity but isn't Gal Gadot is angry. Some people started to angrily refer to the studio as former brothers, which okay, creatives.
That's good.
Whatever, Warner Brothers, you're former brothers.
That's cute. That's like the nicest. Like when someone's like really mad, they could have gone like way worse.
Former brother, bitches.
Right.
Okay. So obviously, the representation for all of these angry people is the agencies, and they are big mad as well. I forgot to add them to the list. But CAA, one of the top agencies, wrote this fantastic letter. Richard Lovett wrote it to Warner Media's Jason 𝐂𝐲𝐄𝐓, yes. Jason. The Blind Side Warner Brothers announcement Thursday was entirely unacceptable to CAA and to the clients we represent. So we are clear about what is unacceptable. You made a decision to release our client's movie in an unprecedented manner, a simultaneous release theatrically and on your own streaming service, HBO Max, without consideration of our client's desires or contractual rights. It plainly violates the rights of a number of our clients who hold approval rights over distribution plans and streaming selections. Your determination to release our clients' movies on HBO Max at the same time as in theaters effectively torpedoes the theatrical release and dramatically harms our clients' ability to earn back-end compensation which they negotiated for, expected, and have every right to protect.
Yeesh.
Blah, 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 blah. It keeps going. Oh, indeed, it ignores the very real possibility of a vaccine in Q1 or Q2 2021, which, true.
Yeah,
that would likely result in a reopened theatrical market with a robust demand.
People are going to be chomping at the bit to go to the movies.
Oh my God, I know. You unilaterally determined a value for our clients and their work to benefit the long-term prospects of HBO Max and the finances of AT&T, a choice that our clients did not make and a value decision that is out of sync with the marketplace and other streaming platforms. The bottom line is you are trying to take advantage of our clients to benefit your company. Neither we nor our clients will stand for it. Worst of all, in a business of relationships, you violated trust and boundary. In doing so, Warner Brothers has made a statement that their relationships with artists and their representatives are not important to the studio.
Yikes.
Blah, 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 blah. Today, the only scarce resource in our business is talent. We reject the deals. Our lines of communication are open, but our point of view is clear. They're fucking angry.
Yeah, and rightfully so, honestly. I mean, that shit sucks. Like, there's no business like show business, and this is a wild ride.
But what's crazy is this is like they're saying it's just going to be a couple of months for 2021. It's not.
Okay, but
That's
why
bullshit.
But why wouldn't they have like been more open with CAA about that, or been more open with the other people about that? Being like, here's the deal. Like this is obviously a weird time. We're gonna do this, and then they would have had the opportunity to negotiate better.
So what's interesting, and that's actually, they haven't been like shy about that. They're probably going to pull this. So AT&T's CEO told just a couple of months ago, one of his in one of his investor meetings, he was quoted as regarding theaters, "We're not optimistic. We're not looking that we're seeing here expecting a huge recovery in theatrical moving into the early part of next year. We're expecting it to continue to be choppy. As a result of that, we're having to evaluate all of our options in keeping them open." That's not exactly I mean, honestly, these guys should have seen this coming. Kind of.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there had to be something innovative because it's not going to operate the way that normally operates.
I mean, the fact that they were able to make more money off of Trolls 2. Granted, that was like a slightly skewed sample, but still they were able to make more money.
Yeah.
The other side of it, that's an interesting twist. Christopher Nolan himself may have actually caused part of the data points that incited them to do this. So Christopher Nolan directed the movie Tenet this summer.
Okay.
Did you?
No, what's that about?
I don't even know. And the point is that we should
Tenet?
know because it was supposed to be massive and we don't know. So Nolan was insistent that this movie go to theater. Understandably, he probably got paid off of that. I kind of get it. Why would you, if that's how you're getting paid, I'd be like, yeah, fuck online. No one even has internet. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Get it to the theaters. Really insisted on it, and Warner Media listened to him. They released it in theater this summer, and it flopped.
Yeah, of course, because there's no fucking anybody.
Yeah,
it
was like in that weird zone where everyone was like, "It's normal," and then we're like back inside. So it went to theater. Obviously, no one went to see it because they were like, "We're not idiots.
We're not gonna get COVID
also,
to watch this."
It's
fucking
not that
Tenet.
good, apparently.
Yeah.
Maybe
exactly.
you got to be really good for someone to go to a theater.
Exactly.
So the break-even point in terms of worldwide ticket sales was $400 million for Tenet, and they surpassed. They got to close to like 300 million or something like that. Check my numbers on that. But point being, didn't make it. It flopped. That's not enough money. Warner Brothers watches this. Warner Brothers also got a lot of heat for doing this. It was not good for the public health, as you can imagine. Trying to encourage people to go into an indoor, closed quarter situation.
Right. I totally have not done that with comedy, by the way.
Well, but either way, like
Risk,
as a corporation, like, especially in a Hollywood-based one, like they were just definitely like under fire for having a theatrical release during a pandemic and trying to encourage their customers to go into an area that was, kind of deemed unsafe.
Yeah.
They didn't make a lot of money, and Christopher Nolan was kind of, their relationship with him was already strained as it was. So I, like, playing light devil's advocate here, can kind of see their point where they're like, okay, in a world where we have 17 movies next year, vaccines coming out, it's like, making its way, but obviously every part of this virus has just been a wackadoo. Like, we just cannot see this coming. Who knows?
No.
It's not like the world is going to be back to normal next year.
No. In fact, I think like a lot of the things that we've developed this year are going to stay. I think like if we're going to be on the subway, people are going to be wearing masks, like stuff like that. And people are going to be just like way more germophobic. So people are like, maybe people will be like, I don't want to go to a movie theater where everyone's sitting in this seat.
And the point is that like they have to make major like these are hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that they have to make financial decisions of. So I can kind of see their point where they're like, all right, we kind of have two sample pieces. We've been very clear. We want to grow HBO Max. That, independent of the virus, is a big thing that we're trying to do. We also know that Trolls 2 did fucking Trolls 2 did well, and it did well when we released it there.
Yeah,
it's tough to really tell because that was when we were super locked up and kids were like
going crazy and parents were like, I'm about to like murder my child in the bathtub.
Exactly. And obviously this 80-20 rule is unlikely to continue. I would imagine that that's going to negotiate to a more neutralized level there. I don't really know. I'm not a lawyer. And then thirdly, the last piece being that they tried to do this with Tenet and it flopped. They didn't even recoup the money that they had put into it. So they're like, okay, what if we do that 17 more times? We're gone.
Yeah.
We're gone.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So I guess they just decided the key here is like they didn't communicate this with any of the people, and they didn't like go through the hard work of going through the contracts with everyone one by one and figuring out the pricing and stuff like that. And they made a lot of people in a very relationship oriented industry super angry. But then they also, you know, realistically, I don't know a way that they could have done that, which would have been like actually, you know, peaceful, because had they even tried to do the negotiations, they would have just had aggressive battle after aggressive battle, draining their legal resources. Now everyone's
right, and then
it's like a rip the Band-Aid off,
and then it would have been like, oh, whoops, we have a vaccine and none of this is relevant anymore. We just had all this legal bullshit for no fucking reason. But yeah, I mean, that is really tough to do. Imagine owning a fucking movie theater right now. Like if I were I saw an article that was like go to this like minority run movie theater, they just opened it in New Jersey, and I was like, does someone want to tell them it's a bad idea? Like I was like,
don't do it.
I was like, what are you insane? Like don't open a fucking movie theater right now, that's a horrible idea. But it was like right at the beginning of the pandemic. It was horrible. And like but it was like some article on like the New Yorker or something, and I was like, that's not a good situation. What do you think? Is it maybe a drive-in? Is it a drive-in?
It better be a drive-in.
Like, I mean, that would be, if I were a movie theater, I would be orchestrating. I would be not. Like,
I would not be a movie theater.
First of all, I would never.
Well,
no, I would not. I'm like, I wouldn't own a bookstore either, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Oh man. But, so point being, everyone is so mad, and it's delicious. It's so funny. I mean, it's very like, I don't feel too bad because this is all like A-list Hollywood people. No, that's not entirely true. There's obviously a lot of like, you know, standard like actors and people on the staffs and stuff like that I'm sure are going to be impacted financially by that. So I feel bad for those people.
Right.
But
like the day actors and stuff like that. That sucks.
Absolutely. You know? I mean, but that's interesting because I feel like this push into more releasing online helps. There's another one that I want to talk about, which is Blumhouse Studios, which does more of those like small budget movies that have no name actors in them, like gives those people a chance and like end up being like more creative.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I want to do one about them. So they did don't quote me on this, I think they did Paranormal Activity, or they passed on Paranormal Activity and then hated themselves for it and then decided I'll do that one soon as a story. But point being, like right now, all of these big production companies, they are just chalking as many celebrities as they can into each one of these movies. Yeah. It's basically just like a A-list, hoping that people will come out to see someone they recognize and stuff like that.
Right.
And as a result, I feel like it's a little bit stifling creatively.
Yeah. Creatively.
Because they're putting $100 million plus bets on this, so they're not going to be like, hey, let's take a risk on this like kind of quirky joke that's set up that's like maybe not like a guaranteed.
Yeah, that's true, but I feel like that's always the case with like big budget films, you know what I mean?
But that's the thing, is that if they go to this model, that actually starts to change, because they can reduce the amount of distribution costs goes down significantly. Going online is like pretty straightforward.
Right.
So you're not going to bet as much money on them necessarily. I'm kind of hypothesizing here, but this is just my theory, is that they could do more movies of less budget.
Right.
And
have more like Miranda July films or something like that. Yeah.
Which I think would be cooler.
Yeah, it would be cool. Did you see that recent one? What's it called? This is not interesting because I don't remember the fucking name of the movie. Never mind. She was like some lady in like a homeless family. Did you see this?
Oh no.
I'll send it to you.
Florida Project?
No.
Did you watch that? Cried on a plane for that one too.
No. What was that about?
That one's about this like not homeless but like extremely impoverished family in Florida.
Oh, and they live in motels and shit. I think I did see that. And the mom is like a piece of shit.
Yeah, but it's kind of like talking about like the child and like her like growing up in this and like kind of trapped and stuff like that. But it's like also really beautiful, and it's shot so gorgeously, and you like love the characters by the end. You're like, I love this mom even. Yeah, and, like, she's troubled, trying her best, but she's troubled and like she's fucking up, and then the poor kid. And
I know that was a tearjerker. I liked that one,
but can't have cost more than like $100,000 to make. I mean,
no, maybe. I mean definitely more than $100,000, but like maybe,
I wonder what
maybe
but it's not like a it's not like a Star Wars. Like,
no, it's probably like $1 million, right?
Even still, so that's like such a small amount of money.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when private equity firms invest in startups, and they throw like those early seed investors where they throw $1 million into like 100 different companies versus like 50 into like 2.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, you can take more risks. That's really what it is. So
yeah, hopefully hopefully there will be more creative stuff, because that'd be really good. And like
it's just super interesting. And personally, I'm gonna be honest, like, as a consumer, I'm way more likely to watch these movies. I'm not going to the
100%.
theater.
No,
for damn sure. I'm not going for The Matrix 4.
I didn't even go to the theater before fucking COVID.
Yeah,
you
but
know
now
what I mean?
actually might have more likelihood to watch these movies.
Exactly.
So I am one tiny little data point in a sea of data points.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So there's certainly going to be more drama here. There are going to be a lot of lawsuits. They're going to basically own a law firm by the end of this. They're like, strap in, like, just
if you're
get
a
on in
lawyer,
there.
they have a job for you. So apply.
Good Lord. Yeah, lawyers are fine through this. So.
You are set.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
What a story.
I'm very interested to see how this falls out in terms of like you said, like having like more indie movies and like smaller names come up, because I feel like the idea of the A-list celebrity is almost kind of gone anyway, because people are finding that they can have profitable, like, interesting movies without a Jennifer Aniston.
Well,
no offense, Jennifer Aniston, love you, but you don't need them. You don't need that.
The other thing is, the failure of Quibi, which actually we need to do its own episode on.
Yeah,
super linked, because they could not have filled it with their
it's bullshit.
Their whole notion, Quibi, if you're not familiar, is basically, it was a streaming service that was designed to be watched on your phone. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable amounts of money were poured into this, and they hired pretty much anyone famous that had a Quibi show.
Right.
So their whole concept was that, like, if you are, well known, your fans will come and watch your shit. That should automatically get us enough subscribers to be good and profitable.
Yeah.
But also didn't work.
Yeah, but they also were like, yeah, we want like the creatives that are independent creatives, like a Tim Dillon, like a Bridget Phetasy, and then they did not hire those people, and then went with these fucking A-listers.
They were like Chrissy Teigen.
Yeah.
Teigen's Court.
And I'm like,
Chrissy's Court, whatever.
No one, like, people aren't following them the same. Like, if Tim Dillon took a shit on the street, I would go to see it. Like, I would be
and like, it's interesting because it's like people who are famous for who they are versus people who are famous for what they make.
Yeah,
which I feel like Tim is more like,
right, like, you're a diehard. It's better to have a smaller audience that's obsessed with you rather than like this general humongous audience that kind of knows who you are.
Yeah, like, let me just tell you, I like Chrissy Teigen generally, but I'm not watching Chrissy's Court.
No, I'm certainly not opening an app, buying the app to watch Chrissy Teigen. I will watch her Instagram stories, thank you very much, which are kind of fucking weird. If you watch those?
I don't follow her on Instagram. I follow her on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Twitter is really funny, but her Instagram is like kind of, she talks in like a baby voice a lot, and I'm very confused by it.
Did you see? I'm not even gonna. You know what? This is its own. We should do an episode on Quibi. Point being, because we're kind of getting long, and we don't want to bore the people.
Maybe next week you do Quibi, and next week, as a teaser, I'm doing one on the influencers are now being asked to rate and review the vaccine. So I think that'll be really fun for people, because that is 2020, and we value influencers
America,
over
keep
the
them
frontline workers.
Keep them guessing, baby.
Listen, we banged pots and pans for the frontline workers, but the influencers need the vaccine first, obviously.
My God.
So that will be really fun to cover, I think.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm definitely going to do more stuff on Quibi, and I'll find some additional dirt to dig up. There's plenty there.
Oh my God. Yeah, for sure. Well, we love you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, please tell your friends, tell your mom.
Oh, like and subscribe. If we're talking about influencers.
Yes, please like and subscribe. Hopefully with 5 stars. Or
write a review if you like us, and if you don't, then don't.
If you don't, please don't. But
yeah,
listen, I'm all for like honest feedback, but like not on the reviews.
But like email that and like. Yeah.
Email that and be like, May's voice is so annoying. I'm like, yeah, okay, no, God.
I can't change that.
I can't change it. I sound like Kermit the Frog, and it's just the way it is. Okay? Fuck it.
For the record, you do not.
A little
but
bit.
Maybe you guys disagree, and let's hear from you.
One time, Max Spinelli?
Yeah.
I was about to record a set, and I was like, I hate watching my sets because I sound like, I just have this like wicked like nasally voice, and he was like, oh, you mean when you're like, and I was like, so you agree? So you agree? I sound like an idiot. He's like, it's a weird voice. I'm not saying that. My household has some strange voices, I would say.
Oh yeah, you guys are distinctive voices.
Yeah,
but it's good because I have a deep voice, a commanding voice.
So
you can definitely tell our voices apart. So that's at least a benefit.
That is nice. Yeah, I feel like there's so many female podcasts, and I'm like, who's talking?
I know. And I'm like jealous. Wish I had a feminine. Once I was swimming, and this French swimmer was just like, I like you. You have a deep voice.
Wait, what?
And I was like, are you hitting on me? What? Am I getting burned?
Was it a man or a
yeah,
woman?
a man.
Oh, a man. Okay.
And I was like, huh? I don't like this.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just dove in. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Bye.
I missed that about swimming. When you didn't want to have a conversation, you were like, all right.
Wow.
I'm out of here.
That's funny.
All right, we should go.
All right.
I'm Laura Sogar.
I'm May Planert.
This is
Thank
Risky
you guys.
Business News. Thank you.
Toodles. Bye.